Hey guys, how you doing? Corell Cooper here with OnTheBlack.com. I have a special guest with me tonight, Jonathan Bentz of Fantasy Baseball Dugout. How you doing, Jonathan?
Hey man, what's going on? Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you. Glad to have you. One of the reasons why I asked you to join me tonight is because spring training is right around the corner, which means the start of the season is right around the corner, which means that people are preparing for their fantasy baseball drafts.
You bet.
Yep, and with that said, being a Mets fan, I got 5 questions I want to ask you tonight concerning the New York Mets and some of their fantasy players.
Okay.
So the first question is, who is the #1 fantasy player on the New York Mets, in your opinion, and why?
Well, I mean, in my opinion, it all starts and ends with Johan Santana.
Right.
As far as who the best player is. I mean, with David Wright's power numbers being down a little bit last year, Carlos Beltran and his injuries, and just the uncertainty with Jason Bay playing in the new stadium. I know they lowered the center field fence a little bit out there at Citi Field, but I mean he's still going to be playing 81 games there.
Right.
To me, it's Johan Santana.
Gotcha.
And I know he won 13 games last year, but I mean you kind of have to, with the Mets and their injury troubles last year, you kind of have to write off his win total and look at the rest of the numbers, and he was still right in line with the numbers he's put up his entire career. Gotcha.
And so my next question is Jose Reyes. In the past, at least in the leagues that I've been in, he's been a definite first-round pick every year. One of the most talented shortstops in baseball, can fill up a lot of stat categories. But with him coming off of the injury he had last year and the team not performing too well, is that going to hurt Reyes' value this year, or do you still think he'll be a first-round pick in fantasy baseball?
I do not think he will be a first-round pick this year.
Wow.
I mean,
okay.
The biggest thing, the thing with him is his speed and the fact that he's at the top of that lineup, where he's going to score runs. And I think, assuming he's back and healthy and ready to go, the way at the pace he was performing, 06 through 08, he could definitely be a vet. I think that there's probably 3 shortstops ahead of him this year.
Okay.
When you're looking at the draft, and I mean, Hanley Ramirez, obviously, not only is he the top shortstop, he's arguably the top player in fantasy baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would follow, my opinion, you would follow with Jimmy Rollins, and then Troy Tulowitzki, and then probably Jose Reyes coming into this year.
Okay. And so my next question is another guy on the Mets who had sort of a down year last year, which is David Wright. And so considering the decline in power that Wright had last year, is he still considered one of the top fantasy third basemen, or has his value also dropped?
His value's dropped a little bit, but I kind of see his season last year as an anomaly, and the result of all the other, Delgado being out and Beltran being out and all the other injuries that were going on with the team at the time. And if I remember correctly, I think he even battled injury a little bit last year. He was nicked up.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to attribute his down year, and I think the only stats that were really down with him were the power numbers, were the home runs. The rest of the numbers were probably pretty close to what he normally produces. So right now on my real quick cheat sheet, I have him behind A-Rod, Evan Longoria, and then probably Mark Reynolds, just because of the power numbers.
Okay.
The average and the speed and all that stuff, Wright is ahead of Mark Reynolds. But the power numbers from Mark Reynolds, it's kind of like a 3A, 3B type of situation there.
Gotcha. And Jason Bay, you touched on him a little bit earlier, but considering the move from Fenway to now Citi Field, which is more of a pitcher-friendly ballpark, do you project a decline in Jason Bay's value as well?
I project a decline in his value but I think it almost has more to do with age and an overall. He's on the other side of the hill in his career. So is he going to be productive for the Mets? Yeah, I think so. But is he going to be the type of player that he was even 2 years ago with the Red Sox? Probably not. And I think, the health of the lineup for the Mets is going to be a big issue for them in real baseball, just as it will be in fake baseball.
Right.
If that lineup is producing, if everybody's healthy and that lineup is producing, then he's going to see pitches to hit. But if he's, if the only real intimidating bat around him is Gary Matthews Jr. and Jeff Francoeur, then he's not going to see it. The pitch selection is going to be a lot less for Jason Bay to try to hit, and that's going to affect his numbers. Gotcha.
And then the last question I have for you tonight is, out of all the players on the Mets, do you see any sleepers on that team? Anyone you can grab in the late rounds that will produce and have some value throughout the year?
I would actually, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to pick. You still with me?
Yep.
I'm going to go out on a limb and pick Oliver Perez.
Wow.
Why the heck would I pick Oliver Perez?
Now I think you lost me.
Why the heck was the guy's a warrior. He's a bounce back type of player. And hopefully the Mets can do something here with the little off season that's left in spring training, and maybe bring in a vet, find some type of arm on the free agent wire that needs a place to play. But if you slide Oliver Perez into the 3 or 4 slot instead of, I've heard some projections where he might be the number 2. And if he's a number 2 in your rotation, I don't like that at all.
Right.
But if you can drop him back to 3 or 4, where he's not always matched up against a top pitcher, then I think he has the chance to get some matchups that will work out well for him. And that's kind of why I think he has the opportunity to be a value pick, because you could probably get him in the last round of the draft. I mean, if you're looking for a high value pick, he does tend to strike batters out. He tends to give up a lot of home runs, but when he pitches well, he's money. I mean, Mets fans will remember that from 2 years ago. So he's one of those up and downs, and I think this is going to be an up year for him.
Well, from a fan's perspective, I hope that you are right. But definitely hope that you are right. But hey, I want to thank you, Jonathan, for taking this time to answer some questions about Mets fantasy baseball. For you guys out there who haven't visited Fantasy Baseball Dugout before, please go check it out. Jonathan does great work over there, and you can find a lot of helpful tips and things like that on his site. So thanks for taking the time to do this with me, Jonathan.
Hey, man, take care. And feel free to give us a shout in a couple weeks and drop some knowledge for our non-Met fans on what's going to happen with the team this year.
Will do. Thanks,
All right,
man.
Man, take care.
All right.